Welcome, everybody, to Casting for Two, the podcast with your host, Chris. I am always that individual. You can't get rid of me, can't knock me down. Today's Friday. Why did I say Friday? Why did I say today's Friday? Because Power Rangers is out now. Everyone go see it, please, and thank you. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 182. I was not sponsored by Power Rangers, FYI. I just really enjoyed the movie. This is starting off weird. That's okay. I'm going to cough any minute just to let you know. If you would like to keep in touch with myself, you can do that over at my Twitter and my Instagram, both at Mr. CMH. That is not right. I'm losing it. Both at Casting for Two, or send me an email, castingfor2@gmail.com. You can also find the other podcast that I host with the always wonderful, the always delightful, my partner in crime, Megan Johnson, over on secretstageproductions.com. Or, better yet, just type in little SundayBrunchPod.com and it pops up. It's that easy. Today, I got a good guest for you guys today. I'm very happy he came back. Mr. Fred Thomas is back. I talked to him a couple years ago. He has a new album called Changer that I listen to so much right now. I am listening to so much. I'll listen to Changer and then go back to the La La Land soundtrack because I like them both. They sync up weirdly. No, they don't. Well, maybe they could. But anyway, it's just a real delight to talk with Fred. He's a wonderful guy, and he's a friend of the show, and I'm happy to talk to him whenever I can. But you know what? Let's get into this episode, so sit back, relax, and Chris, cue the music, please.
Hello?
Hello, Fred.
Hello again, Chris. How's it going?
It's going well, and yourself?
Really, really well.
So I got to ask you, last time we chatted, I think you were in New York?
I remember it really well. I was in Michigan, and I was sick.
Yeah.
I was getting over a cold or something.
Okay, and now you're in Montreal.
In Montreal.
How's that like, first of all?
Montreal is amazing. A lot different than anywhere else I've ever been, and very different from Michigan. Been here for about a year and a half.
Mm-hmm. Right on. Right. And what brought you up there?
Well, last time we talked, last time we talked was 2015, right?
Right.
Maybe the springtime, 2015. Just after we talked, I got married to an amazing woman named Emily, and she's going to grad school here. So we packed it up and left the country.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, congrats on getting married.
Thank you.
I went to school over in British Columbia back in the day. So
nice.
I have a huge appreciation of Canada and all things Canadian.
It's a world unto itself, isn't it?
Right. It feels familiar, yet also very different.
Yeah. Montreal in particular has kind of got like a European energy to it. You feel like you're kind of in, Berlin, but not in Berlin. And it's very much its own thing, but it definitely has like a Euro vibe sometimes too.
Right. And lots of Canadian French people wandering around.
Yes.
But yeah, that's great. So last time we chatted, I got all your background info, social security number, all that good stuff. We got that out of the way.
Yep.
Um, th- Today it's just a casual chat, but also, I mean, we should talk about the new album, Changer.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'd like to know what were the differences for you writing All Are Saved and the new album Changer.
Well, it it's really super night and day. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly the details of everything we talked about last time,
Mm-hmm.
but the something that I do, the feeling I was left with about how All Are Saved happened was kind of like I was working on that record for a long time. I kind of was a little bit, I was working, my office job, making music in the evenings, not really in the way where I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this big statement and go out and tour the world and really push for it. I was like, I've made a lot of records, I've toured a lot. I'm working on this thing. Maybe it'll get put out, maybe it won't. But it did get put out, and that led to me touring a lot more than I had, and I actually ended up quitting my job so I could tour a little bit more, and so I could also do this move to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like before I quit before I moved because I was like, okay, I'm going to do as much touring as I can, and people really responded so well to this record that was kind of maybe not going to even come out at first. Um, and so coming into, what do you say after that? Like, what do you do after you do this thing that was sort of like, mm, it just kind of seemed a little bit more like All Are Saved was kind of like beamed into my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of had to deal with the aftermath of that happening. And Changer is kind of it looks at that a little bit. It kind of like there's a lot of songs on Changer about the tours that I went on and the things I experienced as someone who was like, okay, didn't think I was still going to be jamming at the all ages space this deep into my 30s. So
Yeah.
let me let me see what's going on with that. So it's a lot different because it was made a lot quicker. Like All Are Saved, I definitely was working on those songs incrementally for years and years and years, and kind of returning to them. And the songs for Changer, they're a lot shorter. They're a little more like punky, scrappy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then by another turn, they're also a lot more electronic because when I moved to Montreal, I got way more immersed in making computer music because the place that we were living, I I couldn't make any noise at all.
Oh.
We had this little tiny apartment, so I was like every night I was up until 4 in the morning on headphones programming beats and programming, like learning, teaching myself stuff about just like electronic music programs and playing synths because they don't make any loud noises to bother the neighbors. So
Yeah.
it's really like it is representative of everything that's happened since the last time you and I talked.
And because I was listening to the album, and I gotta ask you something. So, as a person who has lived in, or not lived in, worked in malls a good portion of my life, mall walkers is a normal thing, and I love the song. Where'd that come up?
Well, thank you very much. Well, Maltwalkers takes place completely in the Briarwood Mall in Ann Arbor, where that was my mall when I was growing up, and that was the
Mm-hmm.
mall where I worked when I was a teenager. That was the mall where I waited for Lollapalooza tickets overnight when I was 17, and got super high and gave myself dreadlocks in the back of some street. And that's also the mall that like it's interesting. It's just a structure.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I mean, all the places that were there when I was a kid are gone. It's now like what used to be like the Gap. Well, actually, the Gap is probably still there, but like, you know, the structure changed and everything changed, but I still go to that mall when I am back in Michigan because that's the mall. That's where everything is. And
Yeah.
when I was working that office job I talked about, like it was pretty close to the mall. And the first year that I worked there, working in an office was so foreign and strange to me that I would just be like, okay, well, now it's your lunch break. You have an hour to go do whatever you want. So I'd eat my food in like 6 minutes. And then for the rest of the time, I would go walk around the mall aimlessly and like try on clothes at Macy's or like hang out in the Apple store and look at stuff, and or just kind of like just walk around in the mall. And it was really interesting because I was like, wow, this is I basically just grew up in this mall, and the kids who are working at these crappy like you know summer jobs at the mall, I had jobs like that 15 years ago.
Mhm.
We're probably going through the same things, except, and I'm feeling a strange displacement still at the same structure out of different circumstances in my life, and so that song, that's the really long answer for what the song's about, but the song is just about, yeah, like you you're a kid and you're going through these things that don't make any sense to you,
Mhm.
and the mall is the backdrop, and you're trying to figure it out, and you might not ever figure it out in the way that you think you're going to, but it's okay.
There you go. There you go. And so, when you're writing the new album, is there one song in particular that took a little bit more of your time to figure out, to get right, either musically or lyrically?
Oh wow, that's a great question because a lot of these songs, every time I'm realizing every time I make a record, I always like make way too much and have to like start peeling back layers. Like this record changer originally, because I was doing so much with the electronic stuff, I was like, okay, this is gonna be like one half like 2-minute punk songs, and then like a whole bunch of ambient like interludes, like for like 12 minutes. It's gonna be like Golden Cloud, and that really didn't sound very good. So I had to go back and focus on some of the songs more, and and there were a ton of songs. There was a song that didn't make the record because I was working on it too much, and I was trying to write a song about you know Ann Arbor, where I used to live. There was a woman named Aura Rosser who was killed in her own home by the cops. They were called for a domestic dispute, and within minutes of them coming over to the dispute, she was dead.
Mhm.
This black woman killed by a white cop. As far as I remember, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was what happened. And
Yeah.
and I was trying to write a song about it and kind of relate it to. There's a song on my last record, "Cops Don't Care," which was kind of like had some elements of police violence as the focus, and I wanted to do something more direct about like, no, this is like I used to live like a couple houses down from where she was killed. I wanted to like express like outrage at the idea that like even in this shitty, little like she'll like I'm not sure. I'm getting frustrated trying to even say it now because can you imagine trying to like make something artistic about something so frustrating?
Right.
What's my role in that? Like am I just like ruminating on it? Am I actually going to do anything to affect change? Could my time be better spent like actually like organizing, like people's energy or money around it rather than just like writing a song for my record? So I
Uh-huh.
was like, hey, screw it. We're gonna like we're gonna leave this off the record and work on something else, and because I can't say what I wanted to say with it.
Right.
And there was a bunch of stuff like that that just didn't make it, and I'm still reworking it, or maybe it will be abandoned, or but so the stuff that you hear, that's the best I could do with that stuff.
There you go. Well, let me tell you, out of all the songs, is there one? Well, I'm going to ask you the opposite. That was just like super easy to write. Everything came together, and something you look forward to people to performing in front of people.
Well, the song "Brick Wall" was the first song that I wrote for it, and that song was written in a matter of seconds. I was just
Hmm.
like, I also feel like that's a song people responded to a lot. Oh, that's my favorite song on the record. That's the first single. It's got to be great. And I was like, man, I'm glad you like it. I like it too. I do feel like I've written this song like 400 times in the past like many years because it's a pretty straightforward pop song,
Uh-huh.
and maybe that's the beauty of pop music is you just can rearrange it indefinitely, and it'll always be great. There'll always be something there, no matter what like what combination of the three chords and various like sentiments you put forth. Like, it's like It's like French fries. Never gets old.
There, that should be just a caption in front of the album.
This album is like French fries.
It never gets old. Please, please, and thank you. Polyvinyl, get on that, please. I got to ask you about tour stories.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm fascinated with touring. I've never done a tour, but I is going from point A to point B. It must be pretty boring. Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, for sure.
What are you doing between when you're getting from A to B? Are you just relaxing, chilling?
Well, I just finished a tour with my friends Tyvek, and
Mhm.
we did the whole West Coast and parts of the Southwest, and kind of headed back up through the South, where they're from Detroit, and I like flew in to meet them in Seattle. That was great because we did the whole tour so quick. So it
Mhm.
was a thing where it's like, okay, finished our show in Portland. It's 2 a.m. We got to wake up in 4 hours and drive to San Francisco for our load in, like, but that was amazing because we're just talking and hanging out and like some of my best friends are in that band. People I've worked with for years are in that band. It was the best vibe. And if you have something like that going on, if you're actually touring with people that you love and that you're excited about communicating with, even the silence is great. You feel
Mhm.
like you're a lot of bands have that. A lot of bands have like an internal dynamic where like inside jokes crop up right away. You know, the tour was like only 2 or 3 weeks long, but I've been on tours that are 8 weeks long, and you really it's like a boot camp, summer camp. I don't know what it's like. It's crazy. It's like you're in a van with a few people for a portion of your life, and it feels really huge. So it's always different. I've done most of my touring for the past few years by myself in
Mhm.
rental cars, and that is really crazy because it's not boring,
Uh-huh.
but your mind becomes like the person sitting next to you.
Mhm.
And at a certain tour, like I actually was like, oh my God, I've thought about everything I can think about because I've actually exhausted my possibilities of like, I thought about like, okay, oh yeah, I remember like every name of my like every teacher from like grade school. Oh, I remember like every like house I ever lived in. I had like conversations in my mind with like, you know, every like boss that like was an asshole to me. Like, and at a certain point I was like, oh, I I don't want to think about anything else. I guess I'll just like stare at the road and
Mhm.
listen to this, Grateful Dead bootleg for a little while. And it's really kind of a strange Zen experience that I've not had with anything else ever.
Mhm.
So maybe like not the answer you're looking for, but definitely boring, but also like, man, this is kind of unique, kind of great.
Right, because you're just alone with your thoughts, and it's just, well, I should be focusing on the road, but you know.
Yeah. I mean, I also had an experience during that where like I was renting cars all the time
Hmm.
and somebody like smashed into the rental car in the parking lot
Oh.
and I was like at Whole Foods or something and like I came out and I was like, what the oh my God, there's a huge dent in this car. I'm gonna have to pay for this, even if I have like the insurance that only is insured against collision. And like I had an 8 hour drive and I guarantee you I would have loved to have had something other to think about or someone to talk
Mm.
to on the drive because I was just like, okay, I can say that it was like like it's like a weird loop because I was just by myself
Yeah.
and I'd like listen to music for a minute and then I'd get like an anxious panic and like turn the music off and be like, okay, uh, I'm gonna call him right now and tell him that like I need another okay, and it's like I became a little bit unwell
Uh-huh.
on that drive, and it would have been so great to have somebody to kind of like talk about nothing with instead.
Right. Right. Somebody to distract you from the real life.
Yeah, but I gotta say, like about 15 years ago, my friend Ted Leo, who was had been playing music for a while, I really looked up to him, and I still do. Amazing performer. We were talking one day, like he was always on tour in the early 2000s. Ted Leo and the Pharmacist, or he just toured by himself.
Hmm.
Came through Ann Arbor, and he's like, I was just starting to tour, so I was asking him like, okay, like, what do you do like about like if you want to like go through customs or like I had all these like naive questions. He's like, have you ever toured by yourself? I was like, no. He's like, just by like 100% alone, like no person to sell the merch, no sound person. I was like, no. And he's like, you really got to do it. I think you get a lot out of it. And yeah, it was interesting because he was totally right, and I didn't do that till a lot later in life.
Yeah.
But it's really something I think everybody should do at some point, and not just in a tour way. Like if you have a chance to take like a really long road trip by yourself,
Hmm.
it's uh it's grounding. It can be grounding in a way that's really it was really important for me.
There you go. There you go. And for the people at home who'd like to keep up with what you do, also purchase the album
Oh yeah.
Changer, where can they do that?
FredThomasMusic.bandcamp.com. You can listen to it. You can buy it online. You can get the record. You can get the tape. Has a bunch of my other music on there. That's pretty much the spot to grab everything that I'm doing. And I'm gonna try to get like a lot of older records up there pretty soon too.
Right on, right on. Fred, I always have a good time chatting with you, and
Likewise, always so nice to talk to you.
you know, whenever you want to come back, like if you start selling, I don't know, cereal, you can come on back. All right, we'll pitch it. I'll plug it.
Thank you. I
Uh,
will. Actually, that gives me a good idea. I might get started working on that right now.
Here we go. Here we go. Freddos. They're coming out. Fred, you have a wonderful rest of your day. All right.
You too. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.